Good morning, everybody.
What's going on? Rick Rumble from FM 99 in Norfolk, Virginia. You are on Hoppe
How's it
Hour.
going? I love being on Hoppe Hour. In fact, I'm having a nice cold one in your honor on Hoppe Hour.
Aw, thank you, bro. What are you sipping on right now?
I have a Vienna Lager, Devil's Backbone.
Are you one of those guys, Rick, where you like to drink like weird, different beers, or do you have like a certain favorite that you've drank over the last 20 years or so?
Over the last 20 minutes. I love craft beer, and there's breweries everywhere. And what's fun is it kind of gives you a reason to go visit them, right? It's like, oh, I got to try that, and that's made in my hometown. I got to taste that one, and then this one and that one, you know.
When you're going to a craft beer place, do you drink large portions, or do you drink like the small portions so you can try a little bit of everything?
You know, that's a really good point. Usually I just drink like a pint. I drink until they suggest rehab. That's usually when I stop, right around there.
Well, you know what happens to me? I'm a big guy, so like when I drink Bud Lights at the morning show boot camp, it goes through me like water. It's just like drinking water. But like when I go to these,
it doesn't even count.
Yeah, but bro, like here in Tampa, like in Cigar City, which is like Ybor City, or in Dunedin, they have these like craft beer places, and you don't read on the piece of paper that it's 9% alcohol. So like I'll have two of them, and I'm like, okay, I can't drive home tonight. And I wasn't driving home anyway, but you're like, thank God I took an Uber, because like some of them can be very light, and you don't realize how much booze is in it. And then when you've had two or three, you're like, oh boy, this is going to be a hangover tomorrow.
Oh my God, that is so. My wife bought me something because she knows I like craft beer, so she bought me these beers, and it's like 4 beers for like $30, and each one of them is 13-14% alcohol. It was like drinking like boozy maple syrup. It was not very good, but if you drink 2 of these, it's good night.
Do you remember 7 or 8 years ago when we were walking around? I don't know if you were drunk. I was decently drunk, and we were with Randy, who was on the Fit Show at the time. We were walking around downtown Chicago at like 3:30 in the morning.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. That was a blast. It's like, hey, there's got to be something that's still open. Let's just keep going.
So we went to like 7-Eleven, and there's all these sketchy people just hanging out outside, and we all were talking to them.
Downtown Chicago, buddy. That was a blast. Well, you've come a long way in all these years. Now you're in Tampa. You got that football game this weekend. What's things like around there?
Things are very weird. So there's not a lot of like parties that are being allowed at like nightclubs, but they're going to happen anyway. They're just not promoting them ahead of time. But like, you know that things are going to be as crowded as ever. They're just not doing like pre-party promotions, you know, like no like radio ads or whatever, but they're not going to be closed. So you know it's going to go on. But there's 2 things going on. The first one is David Ortiz is having a celebrity golf tournament at Top Golf here in Tampa. And it's kind of it's sort of unfortunate. They're only allowing 600 people at the event.
Yeah, but Top Golf. Yeah, in fairness, you can keep some distance, and mostly it's outdoors.
Yeah, it is. I just think it's funny when they're like talking about only 600 people. I'm like, I want to go, and then I was looking at the prices. It's like $20,000 to like be a sponsor at a hole, and then like they're bringing like Alex Rodriguez there and like David Ortiz. So that's like the really big event going on. And then
cool.
Titus O'Neill's having a fundraiser for kids, and he's like our saint of Tampa Bay. So I'm actually doing some promotion work this week for that, passing out flyers in downtown Tampa. I'm going to see if I can go to that. But the David Ortiz event, man, he's got like all these people going. So that's it's so unfortunate though, because like I heard 12 years ago when it was here, I think it was Pittsburgh and Arizona in the Super Bowl, like it was like so exciting.
Oh, I know. You finally get this game in your town, and you can't do anything.
And then
it's just shut down.
I don't know if you saw the news, but Tom Brady pretty much said in a way that he's not going to retire next year or after this next year, because he signed for 2 years. I
saw that.
Yeah, I get those push alerts from Sports Center. It drives my girlfriend nuts, but it goes dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, and it'll tell me what's going on. And it was like, it drives her nuts. It'll be like 10
I get those from Pornhub.
Do you want to hear something funny? So when I'm
boing, boing.
When I'm ranting on my show and I'm talking about sex, I play this sound effect from my board.
Yeah. All right.
Do you hear that Pornhub sound effect?
Yeah, that's. I believe that's the film from someone in our Pornhub community.
Yeah, bro. I feel so sketchy now. Did you hear about what happened with Pornhub last month? Where there's like all these.
No.
Oh, you didn't hear? Okay.
Oh.
You didn't hear about what happened? So they took off like 1/3 of their videos because like none of the girls were like verified, and by being verified, you had to like take a selfie to like make sure you're the person in the video. So what that means is 1/3 of the videos were probably uploaded without their consent, and then those like videos that you would scroll past that you're like, ooh, she looks like she's 16. They were literally 16. So there's like all these lawsuits.
Probably was, right.
So now like if I ever go there, I literally make sure it's like Lisa Ann. I'm like, I am not messing around. I am so afraid.
The FBI is kicking your door in, you know, bang, 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 bang. Hoppy, we know you're in there. Hoppy, come out.
How often,
I hear you, man.
Over the years in radio, how many girls in porn have you interviewed?
You know, that's a good question because there used to be a lot of that. There's not as much as there once was. Gee whiz. I would say a dozen, I would imagine, or more. It depends, you know, when they come to work at your local, the local gentleman's club, and I use that term loosely.
Yeah.
You know, that place everybody goes to eat the lunch because it's just so delicious. You can't eat lunch anywhere else. And we've had porn stars in over the years. We developed relationships with some. We have at least 2 of them I can think of that live in the area who used to come on the show with some regularity. But that's all changed now because now anybody can be a porn star. You could be a cam girl tonight. Dude,
I have to say this lightly because people from work might be listening. There's somebody that used to work. Yeah. There's somebody that used to work behind the scenes, wasn't on air. It was in promotions, allegedly. Right. And my friend showed me she was on OnlyFans, bro. Oh my God. I will never look at that. I will never look at that person the same again. Not that I'm judging. I am not slut shaming, but she was very quiet. She's the girl at the bar that would sit on her phone and kind of keep to herself. And if maybe she would begin drinking, she'd be a little more talkative, but she was very quiet and she was kind of like a person that would work at a library. Like she was very much like quiet, but very pretty. And then, dude, my friend showed me the pictures and videos that he signed up for on OnlyFans, and I was like, oh dear God. Yeah. I was like, damn, man. I also have an OnlyFans page, but it's literally OnlyFans, like ceiling fans and small fans, box fans, little fans you put in your car, stuff like that. We've been trying to get our news person, news person, Shelly, who is our news host, actually, to start up her own OnlyFans page that's just feet, because it's not quite porno, but people are into it, and you can still make a lot of money, but you don't have to embarrass yourself. Well, I don't know if you've seen it. I forget the guy's name. He's got red hair. I think his name's like Ryan or something. He's like this comedian who's on Pornhub, and he makes videos with all the girls in porn, and he does the acting, but none of it leads to sex. So it'll be like he's like the actual plumber, and then he actually fixed the plumbing and leaves. And he leaves. Yes, I read about this. That's the funniest premise. That's great. Really, really good. And he gets all the big names. Yeah, I love that. Any of the names, dude. He's got over like 200 videos, and he like makes money going to local comedy clubs. I think his name's like Ryan something. I forget. He's got red hair, and he's got this really likable look, and you know he's banging the girls. You know they're like, dude, you're legit. No, it's it's the fringe benefits. It's all about the benefit plan at the comedy club. All right, enough about Pornhub. Let's talk about radio for a little bit. You have come a bazillion miles since I first met you way back in the day. Yeah, dude, I was thinking about that the other day, too, because I've been kind of reaching out to friends of the past, as in people that I vibed with the most at boot camp, which would be you, BJ Shea, Jason Mahoney, and Brother Weeze. And I've reached out to like you guys and maybe 2 other people since then, because at the boot camp, you kind of have your own clique. And you kind of just go
True
with
that, yeah.
And I seem to vibe the most with rock radio or like alt radio, like Woodier shows like that. Like that's like I never really vibed with like the top 40 shows. Like I just didn't really fit in. But like guys like you and BJ Shea, that's where I would vibe with. So yeah, man, things are good. I was thinking about like 2013 when I was first interning, and I was living at home. I didn't even get a room at the I think it was it the Hilton? What was that? I don't remember.
I don't know. You know, Don always held those things in nice downtown hotels, but for the average person, they were probably a little bit expensive because a lot of back then anyway, companies were paying for people to go.
Yeah, I remember. God bless Don. He was a little mad at me in 2016. I crashed the boot camp and I just paid for the hotel because I got tax return money, but I didn't pay for the boot camp. And Don comes up to me, and I had seen him in like 2 years. Don's like, "It's good to see that you crashed the boot camp, Hoppy." It's like, I felt like I let down my like cool uncle. It's like, sorry, dude.
That's okay. I remember that. I remember when I had to figure out a way for you to bust into his office to get your bus pass back so you could go home at the end of the night.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's such a good memory.
Isn't that wild? They locked it up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's
I remember
one of my
that.
first memories of you.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know what year it was, but
that was 2013. That was the year that Kid Craddock died. And then they had the 25 most influential award show. Remember when they had the awards?
Yeah. Yep.
That was interesting.
Oh no, I remember. I remember Kid very well. I remember him at boot camp very well from a bazillion years ago.
See,
it's funny how you know how this accumulates over the years, and the people that you mentioned a few minutes ago about rock radio guys, and I guess I'm in that list. You know, we don't play any music, so all we do is talk. So you're basically what you're in with is a bunch of talk show hosts. Is what that is.
Isn't it weird though when like I don't want to say any names, but there's some of the people that go there and like all they want to talk about is like the amount of listeners they have, and it's like, bro, can we just like talk? Like they'll come up to you and they're like, "Oh, I'm #1 with men 25-54 in Milwaukee." I'm like, can we just like talk? We're not behind a microphone.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I know. Sometimes people are just nervous. You know, for the last 3 years, I have hosted at least 1 hour of that seminar, 1 hour of that convention. And it's the idea sharing hour. And despite the fact that many of these people are wildly successful in their towns, sometimes it's very difficult to get them to share their ideas in front of the group because they don't know if it'll play or they don't know if people will understand them and stuff like that. So sometimes people are just at a loss of what to say, you know?
Yeah. Is that the Battle of the Bits segment?
Battle of the Bits, yeah.
That one's funny because like it's very, I wouldn't say judgmental, but that's like where you bring your A game. You know what I mean? Like you go up there and like you hear you have to hear some good ideas, and then there's times that you hear ideas and you're like, not so much.
You're just and in my special sauce, not to pat myself on the back, but I managed to merge alcohol into that hour. So if you contribute an idea, you get to do a shot, sometimes two. And that all of a sudden got the participation level way, way up. You just can't tell the hotel you're feeding booze that you didn't buy in the hotel.
I remember there was one in like probably 2017 or 2018. I think it was in Chicago or Atlanta. And I remember, I forget who it was. It was a top 40 show, and they went up there and they were trying so hard. And they said a bit that he even told me later on that he never did on air. And it was like weird sex acts or suburbs of Wisconsin or something.
That's okay.
And
we're just looking for good ideas. We don't care if you did them. Yeah, go ahead.
And he said something where he was talking about taking a dump in Cleveland or whatever, and then everyone's like, ew, and then he sat down in shame. Do you remember that? That's like 2016. Forget what that.
Oh, I've seen people get shamed. Oh my God. You brought up BJ earlier. I watched BJ jump a guy's stuff with a microphone in his hand. I think that kid wanted to cry by the time he left. There was somebody that was at one of these seminars, and they were complaining about the business and the industry, and they were allegedly there looking for work. And I remember finally BJ just said, "You're looking for a job. Why are you just ripping everything in the room? What is wrong with you?" You know?
Yeah, I remember the year, I think it was 2014, when Phil Hendry was there, and he was just ripping in the radio left and right.
I do, and I like Phil Hendry, but, you can't be more wrong. I got to be honest with you. There's a whole bunch of us still making a decent living doing this, and there are no shortage of people. There's 270 million people a month or so that listen to the radio. So you can't argue with that. The other forms are not close. They're still growing, Well,
I think what it is a lot of these times, these people from the 80s and 90s, and let me know if I'm correct about this, because I'm sort of a newbie in radio, but from what I read about these people that were huge then, and then it seems like they kind of fizzled off the last 15 years, they say radio's dead is because they didn't know how to reinvent themselves. Like, let's say Man Cow or somebody like that. Like, they were huge in the 90s, huge in the 2000s, and then social media came around, and then it's like they weren't able to, like, do a second act. You know what I'm saying?
It's interesting, and because I don't have any real names to mention, but I would say that we have podcasting, and there's Spotify and all this other stuff. These are competitors in our space, but everybody has a niche, and television didn't go away when all of a sudden there was cable and streaming and YouTube and everything else. There's a way to, as you pointed out, reinvent yourself or be relevant or stay in the conversation in some way. And some people can do it, and some people don't get it. That's just the way of the world, I guess.
Well, the one thing I will notice is there's like a certain entitlement with. It goes with any age group. It'll go with a person my age or a boomer or a Gen X, where they roll their eyes when social media gets brought up, and they're like, ugh, I have to do that. And it's like, well, then why are you in a class learning about how to do radio and how to be better at radio if you don't want to hear the advice? And then they're like, well, I'm on Twitter, but I got like 8 followers and I haven't tweeted in 7 years. And it's like, well, that's the problem. Cause like, and then you'll look up their show, and their show's decent. Their show's good.
Yeah.
They do well in the city, but then their website looks like something from 12 years ago. And then they got no social media links. And you're like, that's the problem, is that you're just clinging to what worked a decade ago. That's just my assessment.
Very possibly. Sometimes it's a little more than that. Sometimes you don't see what's going on behind the scenes. Like, if you're a one-man show or a two-person show, and all of a sudden you have all this dumped on you, you don't have any help. Nobody's helping you post pictures and build a website and get Twitter going and post on Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. It could be pretty taxing on like a single person or maybe a two-man show in that regard. But by the same, you still got to be in these spaces. They have value. It's a great way to connect with people. You'll notice that radio companies anymore don't identify as radio companies. We're all media companies now, because it's all videos and podcasts and radio and multiple platforms.
That is very unique to think about. I didn't think about the fact that it's iHeartMedia and Cumulus Media, and we're Cox Media Group in Tampa. When do you think that changed, where they went from just radio to everything?
I think one person did it first. And
that's true.
Oh my God, they're media. We have to be media. Look at their advertising. It's for media. We must do that. Yes.
What I don't get is
What's your favorite? Go ahead.
Well, the like shows that are mad that they're not more famous, but then they don't podcast. I'm like, well, then how is somebody going to find you outside of your like market? Like, you podcast. How is somebody going to find your show if you're not heard outside of your market? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. It's a tough conundrum. The great thing is if you're in radio already and decide to have a podcast or start a podcast, you have this unique advantage that you have a medium to advertise the podcast on. Most people will never get that opportunity.
I think it's Joe Rogan that said it, or somebody, one of those podcasts. He says whenever he gets advice on how to do a podcast and how to make it successful, his line was, "Get famous."
No, that's true.
I know.
Excuse me. He's absolutely right. Absolutely right. This just came across my phone. Amazon says that Jeff Bezos is going to step down as the CEO.
What do you think
He's
that
quitting
means?
the company that he founded. That means he's going to do it in 2 days with Prime. That's my guess, but I don't know that.
Do you think he's in trouble with the law or something and he's getting out now?
No. I don't think so. I think let's just say you're the guy that built Amazon. What do you do now? You know, it's like, what is there left for that guy to do? Somehow or another, conquer the idea of turning lead into gold, nuclear fusion. I mean, there's only so many pie in the sky notions. He started that selling books out of his garage on the internet in the 1990s. And now you can't even explain the growth.
Have you seen the interview with him from like 1998 where he's being interviewed by some TV reporter that like I looked up and doesn't work in TV anymore? And the TV reporter's in his like office. In his office, he has like spray painted on a sign like Amazon, like it's very low budget. And he was driving like kind of a beat up car. And I think he was worth like probably a million at that point. And the guy's like, well, why don't you have nicer things? And he pretty much said in a smart Jeff Bezos way, he's like, I don't need it. I need to build this company. He said it in a much more business way, but that was the whole point of the video was like, hey, I don't need all the fancy things. And then you look at where he's at 22 years later compared to the reporter that was all about being flashy. And it's like, that's genius. It's smart.
Doesn't Bezos, he looks like a Batman villain, right?
He does, or like he'd be a bad guy in like James Bond or something. You know what I mean? Like a creepy guy.
Yes, he would be a great James Bond bad guy. Yes, Mr. Bond, you will have to get in the back of this gray Mercedes delivery van.
Oh man, Jeff Bezos, like, and then that whole thing where he was like cheating on his wife. It's not cool that he cheated on her, but it's like, were you surprised that somebody that famous and rich is not loyal? You know?
Yeah, and dude, honestly, you don't know what's going on there. You have no idea. They may not even have lived together for years. Who knows? And
then she got all the money too, and then she like donated a ton of it to charities.
Yeah, she's not hurting. She's a good-looking woman. She'll be fine. I'm sure she's got a significant other by now if she wants one.
Isn't it weird to think
she's not a Batman villain?
Yeah, it's weird to think about where Amazon began though. Like it first began as like a book website and now like it's got like TV shows and it's got a music app and it's very bizarre like where it came to.
Isn't that kind of creepy though how Amazon reminds you of the stuff on their website that you're not using? Like, oh, hey, you haven't watched an Amazon show in a long time. Did you know we have TV? Did you know we have music streaming?
I find Amazon Prime to be the least appealing of the services, like of Netflix, Hulu. I don't like the design of it. I like the show Bosch, but besides that, I mean, it's just the look of it when you're looking for a movie. It's very confusing because some of it you have to pay for, like, let's say Showtime or whatever. The outline of Amazon Prime, like you would think Amazon would have done a better job, but like Hulu is very much easy to use. Netflix is okay, but like Amazon Prime, it's like it's weird to look at.
It's kind of all over the place. The thing that I like and I don't like about Amazon is that it has your order history, which you would think would be great unless you're ordering questionable items that you don't want others to see. Let's just say you're ordering some adult novelties. And all of a sudden your kid says, hey, can I use your Amazon account? You're like, oh, my God.
So I have this bone listener who gives me his password to like Netflix and Hulu, allegedly. But he wouldn't give me his Amazon Prime because he didn't want me to like have his like address and like info about his daughter. And I was like, bro, I completely get that. I completely get it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I totally understand, too.
You get credit card info.
Oh, honestly, I share that. Yeah. Yep, it's all in there, right? So the kids can use it and makes it easy for everybody. And, not bad. Hey, what streaming services do you have at your house?
Okay, I have Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, CBS, and Disney. But I figure out a way to.
Grand total, how much?
I'm paying.
Grand total, how much do you pay?
Probably 30 a month, because I figure out a way to like get it from people. Like, so like now that I live with my girlfriend, her mom allegedly gave me the password to Netflix and Disney. And then somebody gave me HBO Max. I'm very good at figuring out how to get it. So I'm paying for Spotify. Actually, I'm not paying for any services. I'm paying $30 a month for.
Oh my God.
I figure out you got to milk the listeners because they know how much money I make. So they like are like, here's the password, dude. It's genius.
If they catch me milking the listeners, there's an ankle bracelet in my future. Let me tell you.
Oh no, dude! For 7 years, when I started working in Cleveland till maybe 2019, I had this dude's Time Warner cable password allegedly, and like I was getting like Showtime and HBO, and then one day it didn't work, and I was like, I'm completely fine with that. I'm like, that was a good run.
It's a great run. Yeah, absolutely. Have you had this on my Netflix account?
Yeah.
I started watching this show about phone sex operators, and it was called like Hot Girls Wanted or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I never finished the show. So whenever I light up my account, because it says who's watching, that is the first thing that comes up, and I really need to get it off of my history.
I have
my
that
kids
too.
Use that. Come on, man.
Yeah, it'll show you
Hot
like
Girls Wanted, your dad.
Well, mine's just like cartoons or like movies or whatever. But I did see Hot Girls Wanted like 5 years ago. Was that the movie where it was about like a guy rents out a house in Miami and these girls live there to go into porn? I think that's what it was.
I think they're like cam girls or something.
Yeah.
And the house is rigged with cameras and they're making a whole bunch of money and it's all consensual.
And then the funny part that was really sad.
Boring.
Well, yeah, it was that. It was weird too. There was two things about Hot Girls Wanted that I'll never forget. The first part is the girl that's from Indiana, and she goes back to Indianapolis and tells her mom that she tells her mom that she's in porn at the dinner table, and then and then her mom asks, is there a chance you're going to get pregnant? And she goes, no. He pulls out. And I was like, oh, what a lovely conversation.
Oh, my God. By the way, pass the gravy.
Literally. And then the second thing that was funny, that wasn't as funny. Yeah. Have you seen the dog bowl scene?
No, dude. I told you I didn't watch it. I started watching it. I was bored. I just cut it off, but it won't leave my history.
Bro, I think it's a
dog bowl scene.
I think it's a sign that you got to watch the rest of it. It's an experience, man. It makes you feel bad when you watch porn, bro, because like you're like, God damn, like they're not happy, dude.
I'm very concerned. Hey, I've had jobs I didn't like either, but usually my coworkers weren't on top of me. So, I don't know how that goes.
Yeah, there's a scene where the girl was having sex, and then they made her eat out of a dog bowl, and I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ!
All right, that's just sick. Come on, man. I just need to get this out of my history, Ryan. Especially now that I know these details.
I think you can.
God.
I think.
What monster am I?
I think if you go to like settings, you can just get rid of it, I believe.
I think I can erase my history and start over again. Otherwise, I'm getting a new account with another name.
I know what you can do. Get rid of your, when you first sign into Netflix and it says Rick and then it has everybody else that's on the account, just delete the Rick and just begin over. Find what you want to watch again, but it's a clean slate.
Brilliant. That's what I'm looking for. There we go. Good. Good, easily. That's exactly. I'm going straight from your podcast to that. I may do that while we talk. I cannot get that off there fast enough, dog dish. Oh my God!
Have your kids or wife noticed it?
My wife makes fun of me every time we log in because I have two shows. I have that, and I have Schitt's Creek, which we really like. So since it's on my account, we have to log into my account to watch Schitt's Creek.
Oh
and
my
she's
God.
like, really? She's like, would you finish watching that so it leaves the screen for me?
Dude.
Like, okay, that's an option, but that's time, and I don't have that time. Yeah.
Do you like Schitt's Creek? To me, I feel like I've saw like maybe 15 episodes, and I feel like I've seen it all. It's weird.
Really? It ebbs and flows. It's kind of hard to keep that theme fresh. The idea of the very, very wealthy people that lose it all and end up in this tiny town with, in the crappy motel and stuff. Finding new angles or new avenues to keep it going is a little bit tough, but I got to say, I like the characters so much that I'm willing to, take that journey.
I find the mom to be my favorite character. She cracks me up very hard.
The mom on the show, just to explain for anybody who's listening that doesn't watch the show, as I mentioned, it's about a very wealthy family that the IRS basically comes in and takes it all. They end up in a little town that they own by accident because the husband bought the town years ago because it was named Schitt's Creek and he thought it was funny. So they live in this beat-up hotel, and the mom is a former Hollywood actress, soap opera star named Moira, and her diction is better than everybody's, and she projects, and her outfits are fantastic, and she always wears wigs, and she's just totally over the I don't want to say class of the town, but she's way overdone for the size of this place.
Sounds about right, dude. You could do that as a second job, is like write down names and how to explain a TV show. You could do like a podcast and be like, what is this show about in 90 seconds?
Hey, years ago, I worked in San Diego with a guy named John Murphy. Murphy now is a producer, writer on CBS Television's Innovation Nation, where he's won 4 Daytime Emmy Awards. I mean, this guy is incredibly talented, handsome, and has a beautiful voice, and I hate his guts. So Murphy and I worked together in San Diego, and we took a group of blind kids to see Disney on Ice. And they all wore headphones, and we had to do the commentary to explain what was happening. And they had a great time. It was hard.
Is it hard to do radio with people that you don't like?
Oh, no, you know that I'm just joking, right?
Oh, really? I thought you were being serious.
No. I hate him because I'm jealous of him. He's got a beautiful man voice, 4 Emmy Awards, and he's handsome. He's like a damned Adonis. Yeah, I'm just jealous.
You've had a good run, though, dude. You've been 25 years in a
I'm great.
You're doing good, bro.
I'm fine. Thank you, man. No, Murph is a great guy. In fact, it was fun. I saw him online somewhere, and we hadn't spoken in a long time, and I quick shot him a note, and he blew my phone up. We must have talked for 2 hours straight.
When was the last time you spoke to him? Had it been a minute?
Oh, my gosh, yeah. That's the weird thing about radio, and you know this too from jumping around. You go from place to place, and you just kind of pick up for the next job, and you think to yourself, well, all of our paths will cross again somewhere, someday, and sometimes it doesn't happen. You got to make the effort. That's the great thing about Facebook and social media is I've been able to find people from my past that mattered to me that I didn't do a good job of keeping up with, or honestly lost track of. And now you can reinvigorate those relationships.
Well, you know what's cool about people on radio too? There's a ton of people on radio that are just egomaniacs, but there's some that literally will just randomly think about you and give you a call or a text. Like the last 2 days, 2 of my friends, like Chubbs from Tulsa, Jacob Day, he worked in Panama City. He randomly called me on Monday and was like, "Hey bro, I have not talked to you since 2017 at the boot camp. How are you doing?" Like, that's the cool thing about radio. I don't know if TV is like that, if they talk to people in different markets, but like, it's cool when you hear from people at the boot camp and you kind of talk and catch up, Yeah,
no, I love that. I got a note the other day from a guy named Rob Calvert, and Rob was the producer for a long time.
I know him.
Excuse me, worked with Castronovo. Yeah, nice guy. And I haven't heard from him in a while. I'm like, hey, let's get up together. So I popped his number in there, and we have a plan to have a speak real soon in the future here.
He's a good dude, man. I remember I talked to him, I think in 2014. I think he was working in Philly at the time, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, I remember that was when I had like 200 business cards, and I would just go up to every single person, and I was just like, "Hi, here's my card. Take it."
Not too obnoxious. No, you.
Oh man, I gained some enemies out of nowhere for no reason, and I gained a lot of friends. Some people were very annoyed with that. They were like, "Who is this kid?"
That's pretty cool.
Just walking around.
You know what you do? What you got to do, man.
It worked, bro. It worked,
dude. I know it. Look at this. This was your dream. I talked to you when you were just a kid interning on the the production team that put together that morning show seminar that we go to every year, the 3-4 day event. I think it was 4 days back then. And I just remember this was your dream. You loved this stuff.
Yeah, I remember it was the waiting room in 2013, and everybody was waiting in line all hungover, and I think I recognized you, and you were very nice to me. Some other people were kind of tired and hungover, so they weren't really in a mood for my 19-year-old self, but you were always very cool to me.
Oh, man. You know, and I'm sure that you've passed this on because you've got time in the chair now. You've been in this business for a long time. Where you meet somebody that's enthusiastic about being in your industry, an industry that you value and you think is cool, then you have to be welcoming because those people are going to be your future, man. That's like you.
Yeah, so there's this kid who works in promotions at Cox Media Group in Tampa, and normally if COVID wasn't going on, he would be able to like do phones for the shows that I produce on the weekend or whatnot, but it was weird.
Right.
He sent me this long message asking for advice maybe a month ago, and it was so weird. It was like I was like seeing deja vu to when I reached out to everybody either in person at the boot camp or after the boot camp, and I was like, damn. And I talked to him for maybe an hour, and I tried to give him good advice. I was like,
sure.
Let me just decline this call from my uncle. Okay. Yeah.
I'll talk to him. Put him on, man. Let's do it.
Nah.
You're on the air. Larry King. Hello.
He's a talker, bro. He is a talker.
Yeah.
So So going back to the kid, me and him were talking over, and it was so weird. It was like deja vu to like me talking to you or BJ or Weez, and I was like, damn, man, that's cool that somebody wants advice from me. I was like, man, I remember when I was 20, 21, and I was just looking for anything. So I felt good about myself trying to help out.
How many places have you lived chasing the radio business?
2. I lived in Cleveland for 3 months, and then I've been here for 6 years.
Right, and then you did you do any radio in Chicago?
I did some freelancing. I interned at this brokerage show called Dance Factory Radio, which had a cult following. It was sort of like the Adult Swim of late night music radio. Like it wasn't like a huge show, but during the day it was the weirdest thing. During the day, it was like liberal talk radio, like ultra left. And then at night, it was dance radio. It was the weirdest thing. So I interned there. And then I went to a radio trade class. And then I obviously went to go work with Rover. And then I got let go. And then I broke my lease in April of 2015. And then moved here and got the hell out of Cleveland.
Yeah, all right. So you leave Cleveland, and then you go down to Florida. But did you work more than one place in Florida?
No, I've been at the Bone for 5.5 years, 6 years.
That's fantastic, dude. That's a great run. So, but you've had to move, and you know what it's like to get let go, and you know what it's like to be loved, and that's we're brothers like that. That's a kinship in this business. I try to explain this to people. We're carnival people. We just pick up and go to the next town. It's like being in the circus.
So I asked BJ this, and he gave me a great answer because he is a guy that you either love or hate if you listen on the radio. If you meet him in person, he's an amazing guy. But have you ever had haters about your show? Because I get my share of hate and I just see it as free attention. But BJ was saying that if you can get haters in 2021 where you have to deal with TikTok and all the other forms of entertainment, that you're doing something right. So have you had haters about your show and whatever over the years?
I would, yeah. I mean, to some degree, but for the most part, we really have been blessed that our show has been very successful with very little pushback. We were, honestly, at one time, I have a note from a consultant that called ours the dirtiest show in America. And I mean, it was dirty back in the late 1990s. We beat Stern 3 different times before he left radio. He was on different stations. It just wasn't not even close. And I say that with all humility. I'm just talking about the length to which we would go. And so when you talk about having your haters and stuff, we were that outlet that would just do or say anything. So it in a sense, I'm sure there's probably people that thought it was horrible. And this is back then, not current. But by the same, that didn't seem to cultivate haters in the sense that, like, we think you suck or you're terrible. It might be more like that doesn't belong in the radio, and I would understand that viewpoint now.
Yeah, I think if you're getting haters without getting canceled, I think you're doing it right. Like, as long as you're not racist or you're phobic, if you can get people to hate and you can keep your job and you're bringing in content, I think that's perfect. But I feel like if you're like going to end up getting canceled, then the hate's not worth it, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, it does. It's funny, though. When you talk about haters or hate mail or whatever, you could get 5 notes, 10 notes in one day that say, man, you guys have a great show and I love you and thanks for everything you do for the community and everything else. Mm-hmm. You get one note that says, you guys suck, you don't know what you're talking about, and you spend the rest of the day trying to figure out what's this guy's problem or what is this girl here? What happened? We're trying to figure that out when we barely acknowledge the love, right?
Oh, yeah. And then I read the saddest article speaking about like haters and dealing with it. You know who is spending his whole rest of his life responding to haters from his mansion? Meatloaf. So my girlfriend put on Meatloaf and she was like, I want you to get into this. I didn't really dig it, but I'm trying to get into it because she's into 70s music. So I'm like, let me see what's going on with Meatloaf. Yeah. And I read this article that he lives in like this huge mansion in this gated community, and all Meatloaf does all day is on his Facebook is argue with Trump supporters. And I was like, man, 50 years ago, this guy was doing shows, and now he's just 73 years old arguing
online, just like any other old guy. See, that makes me sad. First of all, no one on Facebook, no one in the history of social media has ever written on a page, you know what, you're right, I'm wrong, I've got your viewpoint now. That has never happened. You are wasting your day. Oh, my God. Now we will talk about politics. We do 4 15-minute news blocks a show. I do 15 minutes of news at the top of every hour. And it's discussion, and we talk. And so I get stuff from people that are Democrats and people that are Republicans, and they both accuse us of being too much the other way. Sometimes I will take those emails and send them to each other, and I figure that that's a pretty fair thing. For us, we do, our show's like the Daily Show or Saturday Night Live. We do sketches and make observations and stuff. So for us, it's humor based, and everybody gets made fun of, and when we try to do it equally. But whoever the president is probably going to get more grief than his political campaign opponent, because what they say has more bearing on what's going to happen in the world. When I started here, it was Clinton. We did Clinton. We did George Bush. We did Barack Obama. Of course, we did Donald Trump to some degree, and we're going to do Joe Biden. That's what it is, man. We do that kind of sarcastic sort of daily humor.
How do you make sure
that's going to get haters?
How do you make sure that you're not like doing the same jokes as, let's say, Jimmy Kimmel or whatnot?
I don't think you can. I don't know. One of the hardest things is to kind of not pay attention because you don't want to be accused of stuff like that. By the same, one of the things that I do is I make all the little funny songs and the fake commercials and things that you hear on a lot of radio shows, and I sell them to a syndicator, and they play all over the country. And so it's very possible that one of those shows has been influenced by something that we actually created.
Yeah, I remember over the years you've you've made things that have gone incredibly viral. And I remember I would read about it.
Yeah.
Because every morning I go to All Access, I go to radioinsight.com, and then I go to the Morning Mouth. And over the years, I have seen that you have made the news a lot.
Blessed. I've been blessed by stuff like that. In fact, I just finished. Have you followed out this thing with the sea shanty song?
No, what is it?
This guy made a TikTok video of him singing about this old ship down in New Zealand, and suddenly he gets 7 million hits, quits his job, and he's got a record deal.
Oh, damn. Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. So I've been cranking those out for a couple of different shows. But if you don't know what it is, it's not going to make any sense.
What do you think of TikTok? I feel like I'm officially old because I don't get it. My girlfriend is 4 years younger than me, so she's all about it because she's Gen Z and I'm like late millennial.
Yeah.
But or I'm like a young millennial rather, because I was born in 93, but
right.
and I barely make the cusp, but I don't get it. It gives me a headache. Like I'm not opposed to TikTok and the content, but when I'm on the app, it gives me a migraine. There's like little ads for, let's say, Doritos, and it's it's overwhelming.
Oh, dude, my wife loves TikTok, and so I probably should write them a thank you note, because at night when normal people are watching TV, my wife's watching TikTok videos and I have control of the TV. Normally I would have to watch Grey's Anatomy or one of these, shows, This Is Us, one of these dramas. But instead she's digging it. She loves her TikTok. I'm watching This Old House or some old Clint Eastwood gun movie or something. It's perfect. I mean, I owe TikTok a thank you note.
I just recently saw Dirty Harry for the first time. Man, that is a great movie.
Yes. Yes, those are the shoot 'em ups we grew up with. There's no rules. People have no rights. What, are you kidding me?
I love the
bad
ending.
guys are always bad. Yes, the bad guys are always bad. The good guys are always kind of good. And there's never a blurred line. You know who the criminal is in those Dirty Harry movies.
The thing is, I was not a big fan of the Death Wish movies. I watched them all, but it was a little too out there for me.
Vigilante, are you talking about the original, the Charles Bronson?
But I watched that, and then I watched the one with Bruce. I've seen them.
I didn't see the newer ones, but I grew up with the older ones.
Did you like those?
Well, everything has its context. At the time, New York City was a piece of crap, rampant with crime. The first time I visited New York was in the late 1980s. And we went there, and I blessed. We were the NBC affiliate in radio from my hometown, and they sent us there to do radio at Black Rock there at Rockefeller Center. And so we would have to get up early in the morning and in Midtown or whatever it was, and then walk out. And I don't know if we got a car, if we just walked all the way to NBC. But back then, you were told, don't make eye contact with people on the street, never look up, don't stop to answer anyone's questions. Everybody's out to rob you or hurt you or whatever it was. So that Death Wish movie was in response to a New York that was like that, not like the New York that you would know, Times Square, let's have fun, take a tour bus around and all that kind of stuff. It was a Wild West back in those days when those movies were made.
I guess I never thought about that. That makes me kind of get the movies more.
It makes more sense. Otherwise, why is Charles Bronson? He's out on the street just shooting guys? Come on. Yeah, sure, they tried to rob him, but, do you shoot him? Come on. Well, back then, he's pissed. They messed up his family, and the place is full of crime. And Charles Bronson is on there. You're like, you son of a bitch. Jesus, boy, because you're going to meet him. Bam, I remember those.
What is the most underrated action movie in your opinion? You seem like an action movie buff.
Oh, man. I like action movies. I don't see enough of them.
Really?
I don't. I wish I could say, yeah. I wish I could say.
What's your go-to movie?
I don't see enough. Go-to movie. I'm old school, dude. I'm one of those guys that's always going to watch The Godfather. It's one of those things when you can't go past it on television.
Yeah.
You got to stop. I watch Patton. It's like, okay. I kind of get this tortured soul. You know, we were, in fact, we were all online quoting Godfather movie the other day. I can't remember what the premise was, but it was something going around on Twitter, and everybody had him right. You know, nobody had to be corrected.
This is a random thing to ask, but when it's all said and done, what do you think your legacy in radio will be?
Tough call. I don't know. You know, gosh, man, so many different things. You know, I've created some bits that got a lot of attention. I'm one of the first people, and I will freely admit that I did not think of this, but I am one of the first people to do stupid news as a segment.
Really?
And yeah, and you can find that everywhere. But you know, I don't know if you have it in your market. I don't even know if you guys do it on your show. But where, you know, you read the silly news stories, but to group them together and literally call it stupid news, it didn't exist in 1987 when I started doing this.
Yeah, I believe there's a morning show in Tampa that does it, I believe.
Yeah, and there's no internet. So finding those stories was, oh my God, so difficult. You had to subscribe to every publication, magazines, and newspapers. I remember I got flagged by the Pennsylvania Department of Taxation. I did mornings in Philadelphia for a couple of years. And they wouldn't let me write off all these newspapers that I was buying. And I was trying to explain to them, it's like, you know what, I literally take a razor blade and cut stories out. They're useless. And they're like, yeah, you can't take all these write-offs because somebody else could read those newspapers. I'm like, well, they can't read them. They're cut to shreds. They're like kitty litter when I'm done with them. But I'm like, I'm not arguing with the tax man, so I'll just eat this.
How much longer do you want to do radio?
I don't know. I'm signed up until 2025, and you know, I'll see when we get there. I got another 5 years for sure, and you know, I love it. I obviously this COVID thing has been very difficult, but it's also helped me to realize how much that we all of us that do this to entertain people, you know, mean to each other and to people that are listening, because, you know, it's, man, you're trapped at home and there are people that are just bummed out and they're so happy to turn on the radio show in the morning and kind of hang out with their radio friends for a few hours and just kind of forget their troubles. That's pretty fun. It's a pretty special place.
Do you have like your regulars that call in every morning?
Many, yeah. I can identify certain people by their voices. Yes, absolutely.
Or a number too. I have that.
Oh, do you? We have texting. I guess I can see the numbers that way. I don't have caller ID or anything like that.
So there's this weird thing. Anybody that's from the 941 area code, whenever it's a bit about me and it's like, do you like Hoppe or not? Every time it's somebody from every time it's some bro or dude from Sarasota and it's the 941 area code, I go, here we go. Every time, bro. Every time.
I don't know what you did down in Sarasota, man.
Nothing.
Up in Bradenton, but I don't know, baby.
You know, it's always Bradenton too. It's Bradenton or it's Parrish or whatever. And I'm like, oh, dear God. That's where the guy that took the lectern from Nancy Pelosi, he's from that area.
Yeah. Oh, and his wife's a doctor.
Yeah.
And they had their information online so fast. They doxed those guys and you knew everything about them. I saw it, like they live in a 3,000 square foot house that costs $400,000, and it's just like, holy crap! Somebody like published a profile of these people.
It is so freaky how easily you can find people's info online. It's unbelievable.
Yes, very scary, very scary. Yeah, makes you wonder, how much of that should be available online like that, and. Honestly, in a lot of places we've given it up, but there are some places like the tax records, which are completely public, that people could just look you up by your name and find out where you live and everything else.
I've always wanted to know, is Rumble your real last name?
Yes, it absolutely is. My name is Rick Rumble. That's the name I've had my whole life. So
that is awesome.
I'm doubly burdened there because that's my real name, right? Yeah.
I was never sure if that was your real name or not. That is fascinating, bro.
It turned out good. I got to say, I interviewed Paul Stanley from KISS a few years ago, and I get on the line, and all I get out of my mouth is Paul, and he goes, "Are you really Rick Rumble?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Dude, that is the most rock and roll name I have ever heard." That was cool.
I was never sure.
That was neat.
Dude, I never knew it, but I find that fascinating. Were you made fun of growing up with that name, or was it cool?
Yes. No, I got a little agree. I think everybody had some kind of getting made fun of, but I got Rumpelstiltskin, which was there was a nursery rhyme or a fable called Rumpelstiltskin. It was adapted for that. I remember in my high school yearbook it said, "What if Rick was a riot instead of a rumble?"
Oh,
not bad for 12th graders, or come on, man.
That's pretty creative. I got to give it to them.
I'll give them that. Yeah, I was the class clown of my class.
Really? What did you do in class that would make people laugh?
Almost nothing. I skated through those years, very much so. But I was just a smart mouth, man. I was, kind of a wacky. I'd speak back to the teachers, and I always had something funny to say, and I'd make people laugh and get away with it, and then get out of school and go to my real life, which was I had a full-time job since I was 16, so that's just the world I grew up in.
How did it feel when you got your first full-time, well-paying radio gig?
Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe that someone was willing to pay a grown person's wage for what I had to offer, with all these silly jokes and fart sounds and whatever else it happened to be at the time,
It's fascinating, man. You just got to keep grinding. It's a lot different now.
It's a great ride. Yeah, it's been a great ride. I make a good living. I'm in a good place. I work for a fantastic company. No complaints. If somebody, that I know said to me, "You've reached this place in life, like a lot of us." He was speaking about a group, where now it's about not effing this up. You finally got it where it's supposed to be. Don't goof yourself over.
You've made it, Rick. Do you think you'll make it into the Radio Hall of Fame?
Dude, that would be so cool, wouldn't it? I don't know. I'm not sure what the criteria would be, what your contributions have to be. I respect the hell out of my peers that are in there, though, because I know those people have worked super hard. I know Jeff and Jer and Tommy, who produced for them for years and years, and I know how hard they worked at this. This is it's not to make it out to be. It's not like coal mining or something like that, but you got to put time in if you want results.
What's the key to finding things to talk about on a slow news day?
Tough call. You got to have a wide net. And, and I don't think it's just the radio business. I think in anybody's business, the more contacts that you have, putting together, for us anyway, lists of interesting places to look for, entertaining stuff to talk about or ways to turn it. Again, you've got to put your time in, because, man, you walk into that room and you could have 3 inches worth of papers and you could be out of stuff to say in 15 minutes. Yeah, I've seen it happen.
When did you become good at being able to talk on the fly and not fly through the prep too fast?
I have a moment. I call this my radio epiphany. So I did a 2-man show in New Orleans. And it was syndicated. We were on 25 radio stations, but they were all over the map. Like the biggest one was in Dallas, but the smallest one was in Dothan, Alabama or something. It just didn't make any sense. Anyway, so it's 2 people and a intern. And the guy that I'm supposed to be working with, and again, this is no music, because if you have music, then you're stuck in a format, and we're just trying to sell to anybody that'll take this thing. And the dude calls in sick that morning. So now it's me by myself and an intern person, and I had to do 5 hours. I got 1 phone line. It's just a disaster. Somehow or another, I pulled it off. And when I walked out of the studio, I mean, it's not Hall of Fame worthy, but the fact that I got through it, and it was still pretty good. In fact, the general manager of the local affiliate, which was in New Orleans, called me and said, "Hey, I just want you to know that that was really good. I can't believe you were able to do that all by yourself, et cetera, et cetera." After that, I figured that there's not much left in radio that they could throw at me that I couldn't do. That was my epiphany. Like, I'm going to be able to do this.
Damn, man, that's good for you. I've had some moments on air where it's more like I'm board opping Mike Kell at the show and there's hundreds of thousands of people listening. That's more, I haven't had it with like
Don't
me.
Don't do that.
Really?
Never remind yourself of how many people are out there. This is just a party. We're just having fun. It's all buddies up in here.
It's true. I overthink things. That's like that's my downfall, bro, is I overthink everything.
Yeah. That, you know what, paralysis by analysis. It's tough. You gotta treat this like we're in Chicago at the boot camp, the morning show seminar. Do you remember the Loop in Chicago?
Yes, I grew up listening to it.
All right, so it's Johnny B and Stephen Gary, and eventually my first radio partner, Kevin Matthews, ended up there. And I ended up working for the guy that ran that place, a guy named Jack Silver. And Jack says one day, he says, "Look, let's have fun. I want this to be like the Loop." And this was in San Diego. So he says, we're just trying to create a party atmosphere. If you guys want to have a couple of beers during the morning show, have at it. We'll get some drinks. We'll play some music in the background just to make it sound like fun, but we're just trying to have fun and invite everyone into the party. And it's a blast. When you treat it that way, it's very freeing.
I think I just need to learn to have more fun and not overthink things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Well, a lot of that too is honestly, if you have a plan when you go into the studio, you make sure you know what you're doing from one segment to the next all morning long. It will give you the confidence to kind of relax and know that this is all going somewhere.
It's a good idea. So you're saying to always know what you're doing, always have prep. Always.
Every time. I've seen people go in there and they think they're just going to make it up, or they have a vague idea of like, we have 3 topics we're going to talk about. Dude, you got to know where this stuff goes so that you can drive the plane, and on its best day, an airplane takes off, flies, and lands very smoothly. But you remember, it can move in any direction, up, down, left, right, whatever it is. It's kind of like that. Once you know that there's a plan in place, and if it all goes to hell, the very worst place you'll end up is what you have written down. You're in good shape.
Have you ever thought about not being a radio consultant, but you definitely give out advice that is more unique than the usual other advice that radio DJs give out to people?
I think it's the booze.
Literally.
Hey, in candor, you've done this for as long as I have. I think 35 years. You can't help but learn some stuff that if you pass it on to somebody else, the way it was passed on to you, it can help somebody down the road, man. You owe that to the craft.
I think the key is to act like you need to keep learning. I feel like the people that think they know everything, that's where you get very content.
I totally agree, because things are changing all of the time. Look at where you and I are having this, we're on a podcast. We're having a conversation. You're in your little studio. I'm in my home studio. I did another podcast with Dave Ryan a couple of weeks ago up in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And that was done via an internet interface. Look at all the Zoom meeting stuff. Well, I hosted the morning show boot camp from my dining room on video for 2 solid days for, 300-400 morning shows. And I'm disheveled. I haven't shaved. I'm wearing a bathrobe. I'm drinking liquor out of a cup.
That's hilarious.
So it's just like, oh my God. Dude, it was awesome though. It was fun, and it was cool to be asked. I was very, very honored to be asked to do that.
Now, before I let you go, where can people find your show?
Our show, real simple to find. We have our own app in your app store or your Google store. It's simply FM 99. if you go to fm99.com, you'll find our radio station. It's WNOR in Norfolk, Virginia Beach, and around the world on the stream. And you'll find the Rumble show, Rumble in the Morning. That's the name of our show, and it's right up front. We'd love to have you.
Well, dude, it's been a lot of fun having you on the show. I'm glad we have been friends the last 8 years. Thank you for all the advice over the years, and I hope you have enjoyed the last hour of this riveting podcast known as Hoppe Hour.
Yes, I have, and thank you for making sure I safely got back to my hotel room more than once in downtown Chicago.
Especially in Chicago. In 2014, it's cool, but now you definitely need someone to walk you home.
Okay. And hold me gently. Thank you.
Oh, my God, bro.
Dude, I'll see you.
All right, peace out, bro.
Take care, man.
All right, see you, Rick.
Peace.